Oh, did you put it live already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, everyone. My name's Joe, and this is How Many Fingers Live. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. I just got here. Had a little trouble finding it. This is Mike's new apartment. It's pretty cool. We've never recorded here before. But yeah. Hey, Sean. Hey, Mike. How's it going? Pretty good.
Everyone want to hear our Wi-Fi password? I don't think it's capitalized.
All right. That's fine.
Unless, I don't know.
This is going to be terrible for, like, people who play the...
Oh, yeah.
people who play... It was just like...
Sorry,
me,
guys.
It's just kind of like me, like, staring into the screen, and then I fixed my hair.
What do I say?
And then I was, like, itching my face while I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, that's live!
Did it get you on?
We're going to see. Maybe I'll...
We gonna see.
Oh, we got Mike Bohr, Sean Henry. What's going on, everybody?
I really hate how, like, when you're already connected to a Wi-Fi, it won't let you
See what the
password
yeah.
is from your phone.
Whatever. If it works, it works.
Or there should be an option to, like, you can, like, share a contact to be,
Mhm.
like, share login info.
Right.
To be like, here, let me send Joe how to connect to my Wi-Fi so he doesn't eat up his data.
Oh, is Mike next? Oh, yeah, I am getting it now. Okay. I had my data turned off, so I'm getting... And you pull into the driveway if it's still raining to unload.
Wait, so it's working now?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was the right password. All right.
Uh-huh.
Now I have to share this.
Man, we got
We got so many boys in here.
Mike is sitting next to
It is
Sean.
so sexual in here.
Well, let's make it even more sexual.
I don't know where to go. Where are you going with this, buddy?
Oh, yeah?
I want to yes and you, but give me a clue.
I want to follow. Rowan's watching. Is Rowan home?
She's upstairs in the bedroom.
Oh. Hey, Rowan.
Hi, Rowan.
So yeah, welcome to yet another. Oh, Dana Parato's here. Sorry for everyone who's watching this.
Man, apparently 4 is a good time compared to 3 when we usually start.
Yeah, usually we
We should run late more often.
Yeah. But yeah, welcome to yet another live episode of How Many Fingers Am I Holding Up?
A new location for the very first time
Mhm.
in our new apartment in Bangor.
It's out.
Bangor, I hardly know her. I keep saying that. I know I'm going to let that like slip to my parents or something. It's just so ingrained in how I say the town from now on. 4 p.m. is for lovers.
Man, but yeah,
As usual, we are the last minute crusaders.
we are. That's why I'm so frazzled right now. I'm just kind of like,
You just walked in the door.
yeah. But yeah, it's been some weeks since we did the last one because we had some scheduling conflicts where we were supposed to record last week, but I had to go into the woods with some boys. I won't further explain.
Sometimes you just need to go to the woods with some boys. Damn, you guys are just spamming that wow button.
Yeah, I love that wow face. It looks good. There's angry and wow. But yeah, so it's been 4 weeks, and we did that Thor Ragnarok review sometime last week, and yeah.
So today we're doing Justice League,
Mm-hmm.
Batman vs Superman 2.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing
Man of Steel 3.
Man of Steel.
We're doing
Wonder Woman 2.
Where are we going with this, guys?
Murder on the Orient Express.
Mm-hmm. I've been calling it Oriental Express all week, and I should really stop that before we record that review.
Daddy's Home 2.
Yeah, and Daddy's Home too. Return of the MILFs. Or
MILFs.
Daddy's Home 2 sounds like like a weird like porno VHS, doesn't it? Like
Incestuous porno.
Daddy's home too. The MILF's next door, and it's like now a special sploosh feature. Sploosh features. Sploosh features. Yeah.
Hey, Bill, how's it going? Man, we almost got like everyone from the previous lineup of Seas of Wake. Just need to get Ricky and Alex in here.
And we have one special guest that we've never had on before.
Brand spanking new.
Joining us.
So stay tuned for that. Justice League will come out this Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy's Home will come out Thursday after that. And then Murder on the Orient Express will come out Thursday after that.
But yeah, we haven't... I don't think, besides this move, and we haven't been on live in 4 weeks, I don't think there's too much How Many Fingers news. There has been...
My computer's still broken.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, anyone who watches us via YouTube.
Those we will catch up on the videos, because I have been recording them. I just haven't been able to edit them.
Get ready for like a blitzkrieg week of
if you're subscribed on YouTube. If not, go subscribe, and then just get ready for like... New video.
We're
Because
still
all the videos, and then I want to go back and do all the teasers and stuff too.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna post
the live
all
episodes.
those. Can we post all those teasers on Facebook to just like re-advertise them?
Retroactively post them on Facebook. Yeah.
Because there is, I don't know, there's some good stuff that we missed. Hey Sean, one of the boys I went into the woods with. We don't speak about that though.
What happened in the woods stays in the woods.
But yeah, there has been a lot happening Hollywood-wise. I can't really think of anything.
I'm trying to think where we were, like what's happened since we last did a live episode. I'm pretty sure the Harvey Weinstein stuff was out. I think we talked about that. Did we talk about Kevin Spacey last time?
I don't know. There's just so much.
I'm pretty sure we hadn't talked about Kevin Spacey and Louis C.K. yet.
Yeah. That being said,
Louis C.K. is. I just want people to. What movie was he in that we were talking about him, or were we just talking about Woody Allen? Maybe.
I don't know,
because we've definitely been on record on this podcast talking about, hey, Louis C.K. masturbates in front of people.
Right. Yeah.
Not that that's a good thing to be vindicated about. But.
That was the Stallone thing too.
Oh God, yeah.
That was.
I haven't seen a lot of traction on that story.
It's kind of like the worst time and the best time to be accused of something, because something can really
get lost under the flood. Like the Mad Men Matt Weiner thing had like zero traction.
Which was truly heartbreaking, and I've already forgot about it.
The George Takei thing. All these people have gotten accused, and then it's just kind of like, well, someone bigger got accused the next day.
Right, yeah.
You know?
It's a really great day to be accused for sexual harassment and or assault if you're like a B-level or C-level celebrity.
But I thought Stallone would have been bigger one, just because it was like fucked up on like two different levels. Like it was like, for those who aren't familiar with the story, supposedly he was engaging in what was at the time consensual sex.
Right.
Air quotes, because it was a 16-year-old. I'm not sure what the age of consent was in the state he was in. Either way, he was like in his 40s. She was 16. They engaged in, again, air quotes, consensual sex. And then he's like, hey, bodyguard, do you want to come in here and join? And then it becomes non-consensual. So it's like fucked up on two different levels. And I thought that would have had a lot more play, considering like how much Kevin Spacey's story got play for it being a 14-year-old, even all those years ago. Right. This was in the 80s, I guess, that it happened, she said.
And we also, like Sean is saying in the chat, he did deny it. So I feel like that's almost like...
Is he talking about Stallone, or is he talking about Takei?
I'm not
Takei
sure.
like firmly denied it, I think.
Well, that's kind of
I didn't read a Stallone denial.
We also
it could have happened.
We also just like randomly one night at 9 p.m. never to be brought up again. Jeremy Piven, kind of, someone was making accusations.
Oh, I've seen the ones against him having some traction.
Oh, really? I didn't see any traction.
That's where you're looking, though. Like, I feel like there's people care about different stuff on like Twitter as opposed to Facebook. Like, I feel like the Louis C.K. thing is nonstop on Twitter because Twitter is so comedian based, whereas like Facebook is a lot more just kind of like armchair, politics and warriors and stuff like that. And
definitely.
You get a different kind of caring for different stories.
But that was even like I said like I don't see like this like Jesse Lacey kind of is that his name, right? From Brand New?
From Brand New.
Yeah, I was like, I don't see that getting as much traction as I thought, and you're like, you're not on the right platform.
On
like on Twitter,
it's
it's out of
still
control.
going,
Yeah. Not out of control.
Not nearly as much as it should.
Not out of control.
Although I feel like the narrative on
he is.
Twitter is like I saw a lot of people replying to tweets being like, just get ready for like all of your favorite musicians to be ruined in that way.
Oh, definitely.
It's because it had to be so prevalent in that timeline of like what we have like MySpace coming about during that time. And
Oh my gosh, yeah. But it's just we were talking about this again. It was just like something that was just like even something a victim could kind of convince themselves like, that just happens. We've matured as a society, I feel like.
About Jesse Lacey, you mean?
No. Just in general, with all these things happening. I mean, granted, like no one's ever felt really safe to come forward just because there's so much power involved in everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we have evolved into like this more politically correct culture, and people are able to understand that, things that are happening aren't, they weren't normal,
And there's definitely a lot of victims who have come forward have said like, I'm only able to come forward now because of this strength in numbers thing.
Right.
It's turned into this whole snowball thing. There's this weird one going on Twitter now with what's the guy's name? Murray Miller, I think, who was a writer for Girls. And he was accused by, I don't know if it was an actress on Girls. It wasn't one of the famous ones. It might have just been a part-time character on the show, or if it was just an actress in general, but she accused him of sexual assault. And then like one of the other writers from Girls, something Connor, I think, and Lena Dunham both put out a statement being like, we've known him for 20 years. We don't believe this happened. And then Yorma from The Lonely Island said the same thing of like, I just straight up don't believe that this happened. And they were getting a lot of crap for that because they're like, we want to believe victims, but like I've known this dude for 20 years. It doesn't seem like he would have done it. And I feel like we're getting to this weird space where like so many people are getting accused of this stuff that like they have so many connections. That's how they're able to get away with some of this stuff. But you have people, like Mark Maron, who has to give like a tearful sort of apology for Louis C.K. on his podcast.
Yeah.
Sarah Silverman kind of had to do the same thing on her Hulu show. It's just strange because you have people that are like truly beloved, and that was kind of like Sarah Silverman's whole shtick on that episode of her, whatever that show is, I Love America or something.
Right.
Was kind of like, is it possible for someone to be loved like truly, but also be a bad person? Or I think she worded it like, is it possible to love someone who has done bad things?
Yeah.
At the same time. And I think a lot of people are having to come to terms with that of like, some of the people are probably going to get accused of some heinous shit while this kind of snowballs. And what is the right reaction to that? To, defend your friend or to believe the victims right away? Wait for the facts to come out, Yeah. Everyone's kind of like learning as we go because this is kind of unprecedented.
Yeah, it definitely is. And there's a lot of really great factors that you brought up because, there are people out there who are just kind of like victim blaming, and they're not entirely wrong. Like somebody could kind of falsify a story at this point in time just because it is so chaotic, even though that's not the case for like almost everything.
But the thing with this guy is that like people were like, just let the facts come out. Like all that's come out is the accusation. I don't know if the guy even responded yet. And then Lena Dunham and the Jenny Connor, whatever her name is, like we're just immediately like, well, 1 to 6% or whatever of rape accusations are usually false. And it's like that's just like a weird statistic to throw out now, like in defense of someone. Like,
yeah, that's not a favorable statistic.
Like, it's like, and I think Louis C.K. is a great example of like, we all fucking loved him before we heard out about this stuff. Like, I mean, we kind of had a falling out with him a couple years ago after reading about it. Right,
because it was posted on Gawker like as late as 2 or 3 years ago.
I think 2013 is when the original story broke, but it was kept gaining like traction and then falling out of the cycle every year. And he wouldn't respond to it, so it never really gained any like weight because he wasn't really.
And it is scary because it's scary and it makes me like him even less because he was able to suppress that with his power. He was
Well, that was the thing
able
is
to.
that, like his apology, I like hate it
Mhm.
because it is so well written that like at the time I read it, I was kind of like, man, that's about as good an apology as you can give for this stuff. But then the other part of me is like, well, I mean, this story came out in 2013, and it wasn't
Right.
until it was like he could be proven
Mhm.
wrong that he had to be like, okay, like now I'll own up to it. Like it's he got caught is all it is. It sounds really contrite in his apology,
Right.
but it's not when you look at the facts of like how long he's known about this and how long he waited. And but yeah, back on like Louis C.K., just like there's so many comedians that like it wasn't even like, oh, I don't want to hurt comedy by throwing him under the bus. It's like
Right.
they probably straight up just didn't believe it, like because he was such, to his friends, a genuine guy. But it's a hard thing to deal with because, like, I'm sure Hitler was nice to his. I mean, that's an extreme comparison, but like,
Right. No.
it's not like Hitler was an asshole to everyone he met.
Mhm.
The worst people are nice to their friends.
Right. And I don't know. It is hard. And it is, I mean, a majority of the podcast community has a background of being a comedian, or there's a background of humor. Even more serious podcasts, there's like these, like My Favorite Murder, like they're both doing stand-up, but they're both, even though it's in a lighter tone, they are discussing something as deep and dark as murder. So there is like this whole comedy community that's in like the world of podcast. And I mean, I feel like I listen to really like a broad range of everything. And no matter where you go, nobody's talking ill of Louis C.K., like it was just kind of like, I've heard him multiple times referred to as like comedy dad, like, or something, or everyone just wants to be accepted by him. Why in the world would you like stand up against him? And that was like kind of the scary thing. It was kind of even like a month or two before like the Louis C.K. thing like really broke, right after the Weinstein thing had broke. Somebody, I don't know whether it was like Vice or Vulture or something, somebody was like, hey, listen, like this is exactly like what it is like with Louis C.K. She's like, just wait. She was like, I was fucking threatened and fucking bullied
Maybe you shared that article, but I remember us having the conversation of like, I can't wait until
it's gonna break.
Someone is like, all right, now, because no one, that was the thing with Louis, no one was willing to go on the record before. They had all these like sources that they were protecting, or I heard from a friend who heard from a friend. Right. And like the most concrete thing we had before that was the guy who like called Louis or was emailing him drunk. I think it was in the Gawker article. Right. And he was like, hey, it's really shitty that you like jerked off in front of my friends. And then Louis like texts him like, hey, can we talk?
Yes.
Here's my number. Like, call me. Like, you don't do that if you're not guilty. Like,
right. Yeah.
If you weren't guilty, you would have just been like, fuck it, spam. Why even respond to that message? So clearly it was something that he knew was true and he was trying to suppress at that time.
This has been a super uplifting conversation and our viewership
has plummeted as a result.
But it's something that needs to be discussed.
What else is going on in Hollywood right now?
I saw an Incredibles 2 teaser trailer next summer. Incredibles 2.
Are you excited for that? Did you like the first one?
That's my favorite Pixar movie.
Is it really?
Yeah.
A lot of people say that. I think when I tried to watch Incredibles, I turned it off at a certain point. Not like, oh, this is so bad. I just wasn't really grabbed by it.
Yeah. It's and again,
I've been meaning to give it another try just because I hear so many people talk so highly of it.
Yeah, I really like it, and again, I think it came before this fucking superhero storm.
Can you tell Joe is sick of seeing superhero movies?
I'm so jaded. I started off this year so like, okay, maybe we're in this time where superhero movies are going to take a turn. But honestly, with these last two, I just want to fucking blow my brains out. Yeah. Stay tuned for our Justice League review, I guess. Not that I want to go that hard on it. I mean, I honestly was more disappointed in the Orient Express. Again, we'll get into that kind of stuff. I think some good reviews are gonna. I think some good reviews they're gonna come out.
So your Johnny Depp impression from Murder of the Orient.
Johnny Depp just hates looking like himself now, and just like,
Well, I mean, if you were Johnny Depp, would you want to be Johnny Depp?
no, yeah, and I can understand it.
He doesn't want to see the person that he sees in the mirror every morning that threw his wife down the stairs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's like another thing is like did Justice League really have like we can get into this during the Justice League thing, but did they really even have like a press kind of tour? Because
I think a lot of the movies have been realizing they don't have to go as. I know that was a big thing with Thor. Is that Marvel? I read an article about it that was really interesting. That was like Marvel's realizing like we don't have to send our stars on these incredibly grueling press tours. We've built enough of our name for ourselves that just kind of the narrative writes itself. Like we don't have to go out there and be like, well, this is the best Marvel. Like the people are going to see the movie no matter what. We've learned, and then people know that the Marvel movie is coming out because we've already had 4 different post-credit scenes for it and trailers and teaser trailers, and it's an event just through social media. This stuff coming out. You don't have to go on Conan and Colbert and all these other shows just to promote your movie.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just like, why would you make a superhero movie? But also, I mean, listen to that. That's so lucrative and convenient. And like, why wouldn't you make a superhero movie?
Yeah, there's no reason for them to stop. They keep making money.
Yeah. And again, it has a lower Rotten Tomatoes score, not as bad as like BVS or something. But like, who cares? Money speaks volumes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. But the audience score is pretty high for Justice League.
I think that's par for the course for Rotten Tomatoes. I think you can look at Geostorm,
but it's audience score is like in like the 80s, and the critic score is in like the 30s, and then like the top critics is like the 20s. Again, it usually goes that way. Top critics usually the lowest. Not always true. Actually, there are definitely some like artsy movies where like for like Lady Bird, like top critics and regular critics like 100%, and then everyone else is like a little bit lower. Again, that's also Lady Bird hasn't really gone like wide yet, so it's mostly been critics who have seen it probably at advanced screenings.
It can be reversed, but I feel like we see a lot of that kind of like critics, the audience. It's always at least 30, 40, 50 plus.
But it makes sense. I mean, again, we'll talk about this more in the Justice League episode. Stay tuned this Thursday. But it kind of makes sense because after being in the theater for Justice League, the theater had a great reaction to it. Like everyone in my theater was really enjoying it. I thought, which might have influenced my opinion of the movie a little bit, because I think if you view it like on your own as a critic, if you're like watching like a screener like in your like bedroom or something, like it's probably not as good as just being in a theater where everyone's laughing at the jokes and getting the references that they're making to previous movies. And
oh man, I was in a theater
excited for the post-credit scenes. And
I was in a theater with like 6 or 7 just completely silent dads. Just
what time did you see it?
4. So that makes sense. Just I don't know why there was
like they should be at work at 4.
Yeah, I know. There was just like solo dads, just kind of. There was even a group of like 3 kind of dad-looking figures, and they were just like. One guy was just checking his email halfway through. I was like, "Come on, dude, it's not that bad."
Hey, Lindsay
D,
supposed to be here today. R.I.P. R.I.P. her appearance on the podcast. We'll get her back soon.
Yeah.
What do we have going on? I feel like there was there a new trailer that came out recently?
I don't know. Oh man, if you guys missed it. I mean, this is like just because it was so long ago that we did the last live episode or whatever. I dressed up as Robert Pattinson's character.
We went viral.
For Halloween.
If 60 months.
Well, the Safdie brothers acknowledged me.
Pretty cool costume.
So I'm going to get them on the handies. It was a really cool experience. So I tweeted for you guys to send me some movie-inspired Halloween costumes, but no one did, and that's fine. Maybe you guys weren't movie characters for Halloween. We wish you could be here too, Lindsay.
I was Donald Trump from the movie Home Alone 2.
Oh, man. Man, there's so much happening with movies that it's hard to, I feel like I need to start keeping like a list, just
what happens?
headlines
Yeah.
and articles and everything that's happening.
Well, I guess probably the trailers two biggest for us, at least, just because of award season that came out, trailers wise.
Mhm.
Phantom Thread and the name being released, and The Post.
Oh, you know what I was gonna say? When I saw the Orient Express, I saw like a new cut of the Phantom Thread trailer. Did you see
I
that?
haven't seen that in theaters yet. The trailer for it.
Okay, it looks.
Actually, to be honest, I haven't seen the trailer with the sound on.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's like come up on my feed a few times, and I haven't been somewhere where I want to have sound coming out of my phone.
Well, like it's
Usually the bathroom.
So the trailer's a bit underwhelming when it first came out. Our friend Jordan, who's been on the podcast, said, I feel like I should be more excited for this, but I'm not. Just because, like, you know, like, especially after something like The Master and
Paul Thomas Anderson, Daniel Day-Lewis'
Mhm.
last movie.
Inherent Vice.
He says he's quit acting before. Came
Has
back.
he?
He quit before Lincoln, I think,
Oh,
or
really?
something else.
Uh-huh.
He always does the weird shit where he like quits and he goes to work in a shoe factory,
Right.
and then someone's like, "Please, I have this role."
Yeah.
And he's like, "All right."
Well, I think he wants to go into fashion, and I can almost just see, like, Paul Thomas Anderson be like, well, that's what the movie's about. Like,
Or he's just so deep into this role that he has to convince himself that there's no roles after this, and that fashion is his life
just
because
this
he's
character.
that deep into method acting for this one.
No, but it was a new cut, and again, where it looked very Oscar bait-y thing, and it didn't look so
Which
much
is weird because he doesn't really get a lot of Oscars play.
No, I don't think he doesn't really like play the Oscar game. Paul Thomas
Mhm.
Anderson, Inherent Vice, like when he released that, like after the like Oscar cutoff, I was like, whoa, like that's crazy. Like I don't know. But yeah, and it looked, it just looked a little. But this new cut, you could tell, you could hear like a little more of that, like Daniel Day-Lewis, like he sounds like he's getting very into the character at some point, and there's like a little like more iconic dialogue in there, and you could be like, okay, I see, like this guy's a little more obsessive than like I thought before, and you get to hear like a pinch of Johnny Greenwood's like score. Like before, it was just kind of strings, and it didn't sound too much like Johnny Greenwood. Like a lot of, is that his name, Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead? Like you can hear.
I always confuse the guy he uses and the guy that what's his face uses. Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, okay. Yes.
They're both from bands, right?
I don't know. Clint Mansell. I don't think he's from a band.
I always confuse him.
I don't think he's from a band. I think he's just like literally. Maybe he is. I'm not sure. But you can hear a touch of that in there, and it got me a little more excited.
Former lead singer of the band Pop Will Eat Itself. I didn't know that.
What is the band called?
Pop Will Eat Itself. I've never heard that band though. So
Yeah.
I think I'm thinking of someone else entirely as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, and The Post. What did you think of that trailer?
I think I'm definitely more excited for it after watching the Spielberg documentary
Okay.
on HBO. I don't know if you watched that yet.
No, I haven't watched it.
It's really not that great as a
What year did
documentary.
that come out?
The documentary,
Mhm.
like weeks ago, it came out.
Oh, really?
Very
Okay,
new.
Yeah.
I had been seeing trailers for it before whatever I was watching on HBO.
Really? That's so weird. I haven't heard of it at all until you told
Also,
me.
does HBO like? Do they use like an algorithm to decide which trailers to show you, or is it just before whatever you're watching? That's just.
I think it's like a scheduled thing. I don't really know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was some sort of algorithm.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah, I kept seeing the trailers for it, and I was like, I have 3 hours. Let me watch it. It's not that great as a documentary. It's not bad. I think I just usually like deeper subject matter for a
Mhm.
documentary, but definitely made me realize how much I do actually love Steven Spielberg, or at least in the past Steven Spielberg movies.
Mhm.
I did like Bridge of Spies, even though you didn't. But I think that made me be like, I feel like this could be a movie that he could. It's more important subject matter. It's not him doing like the BFG or like War Horse. It's definitely Oscar baity, but it's not like fucking war and American heroes and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
it's a relevant topic, which he has done in the past at times when it's been relevant.
It looks, I mean, I think it has such a great cast because, like, it's like a bunch of great, like, these two iconic actors, Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep, kind of coming together in this current political climate, kind of, to, like, Steven Spielberg's kind of like, help me fight, you know, what is going on.
And
it
kind of makes, I didn't realize that they were making this movie, but remember during the Golden Globes last year, Meryl Streep made that big speech about like speaking truth to power and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now it becomes clear they must have been filming this or about to film this when she's making that speech, because that's what this entire movie is about, is like the press needing to have that freedom to criticize the president when something goes wrong and stuff like that. I think
Tara says the BFG is dope, though. I can't speak on the BFG. I haven't seen it, but
it's so creepy.
Oh, did you see it?
No, I won't watch it because it has that, like, not that it's Uncanny Valley because he's a giant, but just the motion capture is like, it creeps me out. That character gives me nightmares in the movie trailer. I also never read the BFG as a kid, so
BFG was pretty beloved to me, but it was very strange seeing it in that kind of Hugo rendering.
Just seeing the like it put out as like BFG, I always hear it in my head as like the big fucking giant. big fucking giant.
Yeah, that's a big fucking giant.
There's a big fucking giant. But yeah, I haven't watched it.
Kind of repetitive.
I assumed kind of what?
Repetitive, like, that's big and fucking giant.
But like in the Spielberg documentary, they like pay like zero attention to like that. They don't really even pay any attention to like War Horse. So you can tell whoever made it was like, there are some good Steven Spielberg movies and there are some stinkers. There'll be like one clip from War Horse and one clip from BFG.
Boys in their movies.
Also, I never really realized how beloved AI is to a lot of Steven Spielberg fans.
Oh, I really love that movie.
I have to watch it again. I remember liking.
Easy to forget, though. Really,
I remember liking like the dark feeling it gave me, but I think it also, I always confuse it with what's the Bicentennial Man.
Oh, I've never seen Bicentennial Man.
It's not really the same concept at all. It's just I think he's a robot maybe in that movie. Robin Williams.
I did see. There's like
I remember
the
trailer more than the memory than the movie. There was like something in the trailer with like the like female robot doing like UGLY, you ain't got no alibi, like one of those like childhood like rock. It was just real cheesy and not really a great movie. I do remember AI. I remember like the creepy circus scene in that. I remember it gave me a lot of like Animatrix vibes.
Yeah,
which I think I was maybe too young to appreciate at the time.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters, and again, I think we were in the midst of. I just remember there being this time in the. When was that? That was before. Was that before the 2000s, or?
I want to say it was straight up 2001. I think it's after Saving Private Ryan. It's definitely after Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, and we're in the midst of this competition of who can make their movie the longest, almost like production companies were just like 3+ hours of like screen time, like that's fine, or running time, that's fine. And that was one of those movies where I was like, oh my god, like this is so long.
Yeah.
Because I do think it has a long running time, if I'm correct. I definitely want to watch that just because we were talking about
the poster AI.
The
Spielberg documentary.
The Spielberg documentary. Just because I was talking about the Noah
It more just
Baumbach.
like it reminds me of all the movies that he has done and how many of his movies are in my like top 100, if not like top 25 like movies.
Was there like any sort of director that did it that was of merit? Not that it really matters.
I want to say it was Alice something, but
okay.
I don't recognize the name.
Just because I think I told you Noah Baumbach did one on what's his name?
Brian De Palma.
Yeah, De Palma.
That's the other thing is that
and that's on Amazon.
I didn't realize. Like, I always
really
knew
cool.
He was close with George Lucas, just because of their working relationship on Indiana Jones. I didn't realize because they have a lot of great interviews with Martin Scorsese, Brian De Palma, and they don't have interviews with him obviously, but they talk about Francis Ford Coppola
Mhm.
and how they all were kind of just like a boys club that was just like hanging out and getting drunk all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
It does a really good job of painting a portrait of him too, because I didn't realize like, I mean, you kind of get the feeling, but like he's kind of like the nerd of that crew. Like they're all these kind of like auteurs, and he's like, I just want to make like fun movies.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And like they'd be getting drunk, and he'd just be kind of like the mom of the group, just like
Yeah,
making sure everyone's having a good time and being safe. And,
Yeah. There's some of that in De Palma, like where they just have like a bunch of photos where I'm like, oh my god, just
There's
like
a-
all of them like hanging out
Yeah.
in like a bar.
There's a lot of really interesting tidbits. Like they're talking about how they all kind of were trying to one up each other at that
Mhm.
time. And like George Lucas had made Star Wars and
Mhm.
showed it to all of them,
Mhm.
like just like a private screening for them. And like, I think it was De Palma was like, doesn't make any fucking sense. Like,
Yeah,
you know, like maybe this is cool for you, but like the rest of us have no idea what the fuck we're watching. So
Right.
he was the one that came up with the idea for the like, he's like, just tell us where we are so I know what I'm watching.
yeah.
He's
Okay.
the one that came up with the crawl.
That's
at the
that's
beginning.
cool. Yeah.
But the way the story is told is him just being like, he's mad. He's like, it makes no fucking sense what I'm watching. Like I don't know what the big fucking hairy bear is.
These, I don't know. In these documentaries, they're super interesting to me too, because sometimes it's this whole thing with how technology has changed everything. And I spent my entire childhood kind of being like, when I'm like my dad's age, what is classic rock going to be? And there's not going to be a classic rock radio station, right?
Mhm.
Like it's just kind of like we have like these legends in film, and I don't think we don't have that boys club anymore. I don't think we're going to look back and be like, oh, oh, it's one of the greats, like Steven Spielberg. Like there's just so like not even talking about reputation or talent or whatever, or you know, clout within the industry. I just think there's just too much shit happening, you know, like it's so anybody can make a movie, you know, and it's like
I think there's definitely going to be greats that we're gonna like. I think there's definitely a lot of people who are doing some of their greatest work right now.
Mhm. I think greats is going to be redefined, and it's going to be harder.
It's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be as mythic as it used to be. Like that's the great thing about the Stevens. There's a lot of stuff where you're like, you know, especially like the making of like Jaws is obviously
Right.
super
Mhm.
interesting. Like the way they kind of just patch that all together, whatever they could do to make it work.
Mhm.
All the different times that he was just like over budget and had to, you know, convince the studio to just be like, just trust me, like this is gonna,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna work.
Mhm.
Audiences are gonna like this. I feel like we don't have a lot of that now, where the studios have too much power now. Maybe not as much trust in
Mhm.
people and directors. We don't have this kind of like, you know, as far as I know, I can't think of any other groups of directors that are out there like sharing their films with like 5 of the greats at like the same time,
Right.
all of them trying to be in this competition of trying to one up each other and put out the
Mhm.
next greatest movie. But there are definitely still greats at like I would say like we're definitely going to look back at like, you know, Christopher Nolan from our generation,
Oh, definitely.
Paul
Yeah.
Thomas Anderson,
Mhm.
you know, Wes Anderson for his niche, certainly. You know, the Coen brothers, stuff like that.
Who do you think is the greatest living director right now? Oh, you know
Well, it's
what?
hard because
Yeah,
Spielberg
I'm
and
trying to say, who do you
Spielberg
yeah,
and Scorsese and these people
I-
are still living
I would more say, who do you think?
and even still making movies.
Right. I guess who would be your classic rock radio station? You know, like who would be like your Beatles? Like from what we've seen so far, I mean, we are on the cusp of something completely new happening too. I mean, I feel like we always get like, you see, everything that's happening with the A24 is like crazy. It's
Yeah.
like a lot of that stuff is spitting out what I can only
Movie
assume,
marketing
yeah.
is definitely heading in a direction. Like I said, I would probably say Christopher Nolan, the Coen brothers for sure, just because they rarely disappoint me.
Yeah.
Wes Anderson, because he really has like yet to disappoint me. There's another name I want to throw in there. That's Paul Thomas Anderson. Those would definitely be the top 4. I'm sure there's a 5th I can think of that I would throw in there. I feel like there's a lot of directors that do like one good movie and then they don't follow it up with another good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or one that's, you know, as iconic or impactful. And I think that has to do with kind of the volume of movies out there. And a movie really has to be good to like really stand out now, because there's, like 300 to 500 movies released a year. It feels like.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy at this point. And I think, that was the point I was trying to make earlier. But yeah, no, I always say I think Paul Thomas Anderson, just because he hasn't made like even like a mediocre movie yet.
It hasn't been a stinker yet. There's ones you may not like as much.
Right. So that's why I'm kind of like horrified and interested in the Phantom Thread, just because like I watched the trailer and I was like, I don't know. It's like I felt like Jordan. I was just kind of like, I should be liking this, but I'm not.
I'm think I'm most curious about the post, just because I think I talked to you like the poster for the post, or
the post poster.
Like that, it just seems very Steven Spielberg. Like it's kind of got like this like minimalist poster where it's the two of them walking up the steps to the Capitol building or some like DC building or something. And it's kind of got like that typical minimalist poster font, just like blocky.
It's
white.
a really,
really
it's
great like
poster.
Pushed all the way to like the left, so it's not even like correctly centered and stuff. And awesome poster. And then I think the trailer is pretty good too, because whether or not the movie's like this, the trailer definitely makes it seem like Steven Spielberg is doing like a David Fincher impression. That's another director I would throw on there as well.
Yeah, same.
Contemporary classic rock directors.
Yeah, there are parts of that trailer that do concern me. Like kind of just Tom Hanks leaning like a little too far into whatever his character is.
He's definitely doing some like he's working really hard to make his voice different in all of it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
almost leaning towards like impression.
No, definitely, and I think we have times in the trailer, and again, trailers are cut weird. We have parts in the trailer where it's just Tom Hanks, like just kind of talking, kind of as Tom Hanks, really. And then we have one part where it like cuts into the middle of a conversation, and he's like, "What do you think we will do, Mrs. So-and-so?" Like kind of like talking to her character, and it sounds like a great trailer line, but you're just kind of like, yeah, it does. This sounds like an SNL impression, kind of, and it's trying too hard to be iconic, but it's taken completely out of context. So I don't know. It's just, it kind of also looks like it could be a very boring version of Spotlight. And it also looks like it could be a movie that's and I mean, this is what I expected before I saw a trailer, and I only just knew a few details. I was like, this will be in the Oscars because it's made for the Oscars, really. And
it's about as Oscar baity as it can get. Just because it's current political, Meryl Streep, Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg, true story, period piece. Like, it's checking all the boxes besides like slavery and LGBT. Oops.
It's got everything but slavery, ladies and gentlemen. Everything you come to the movies for except maybe slavery.
And the queers.
Oh, man.
I feel like we never really talked about the fact that like Moonlight won last year, but it was like, it didn't feel like an Oscar baity movie, like
it didn't. It was
because there's
black
ones
and
that
it's
are
gay, but
they're
it's
the ones
not.
that are like, we're gonna make a movie about gay people, and because we're gonna do that, we're gonna try to win an Oscar. And Moonlight wasn't trying to win an Oscar; it was just trying to tell an honest story about that sect of American life, and that's what made it so great, and probably why it won, because it didn't feel cheap. It didn't feel like someone was, trying to jerk off the Academy by like, this is what you guys want.
It's I don't know. This all sounds so horrible, but it's just kind of like, it's like I don't have to be transported back to slavery to believe, African Americans are equal, like to us. Like I don't have to see Harvey Milk to believe that
gay people deserve to have the same rights.
It's crazy. Like I don't have to see a Holocaust movie to believe that, or to not be anti-Semitic, or to believe that there are great struggles within the Jewish community. Like it was just there was a point where
there's some differences. Like there's obviously there's certain stories.
You shouldn't clump all those, but
and there's stories that want to be told. Like I think the Harvey Milk, because that's a story that's an important. It's less about like look how
that was the first thing
it
that
was
came
for
to my
gay
mind.
people. It's more about like look how triumphant this guy was and how he stood up to oppression. Whereas like I think when you take a movie like 12 Years a Slave, like it ends up becoming more about like let's look at some black pain from like that era, and then have kind of like a nameless character that triumphs above it all. And then again, I think the thing we always rip on 12 Years a Slave for is like the kind of like white guilt where like we have to have Brad Pitt be like, well, I'll be the one to help save you.
Yeah.
Because not all of us, not all white men,
Yeah. And then like, I don't know. There was like a time in the 90s or the early 2000s where I was like, the Holocaust is becoming so masturbatory, like at this point. Like it's just, we're devaluing it, really. It's becoming more of a mythic thing because of just all these different, like, I just remember there was a point where I was watching like The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which is like a really like, it's a painful movie to watch, and I just like couldn't lend myself to it. I just was just like,
there was definitely a time where it was
too
like
much.
like kind of like suffering porn in the movie. Like I remember like another one from that time period is like Andersonville. Remember that? It was like about one of like the Civil War like prisoner camps. It was basically like, oh, like the Confederates are such evil people. They're torturing all these soldiers that they have kept in this Andersonville prisoner camp, and it was just kind of like, how bad can it get? Or like the Dieter Dangler story and stuff like that, where it's just kind of like, let's watch someone be miserable for 2 hours and then triumph at the end.
It's just also, I don't know. I think I just always, like, I love biopics, but they often just feel so disconnected because there's such a strong sense of what's right and what's wrong. And it's kind of like, maybe there's one good Nazi or something. Like, or like, I always used to joke, like, why don't we see like Hitler in like a protagonist, like kind of, like it's always has to be like this, somebody take like a different fucking angle of this. If you have to go back and like, we got into like a rut recently where it's like every single fucking biopic has to be about World War II. I'm so sick of that war and that era. And it's always like, well, big baddie Hitler. Like, I'm just like, I don't fucking care. Like, I think
that's kind of why Dunkirk works so well. And I've read a lot of analysis about this, so that it's just kind of like,
this is exactly why.
Rather than even being like, oh, here's the story of one family trying to survive against all odds in World War II. It's just kind of like, literally, what was it like? I guess that was World War I, wasn't it? Dunkirk, or was it II?
I think it was II.
It would have to be II.
Yeah.
Was Churchill there for both? My history's so bad about that era that I didn't live through.
Same. I was literally having dinner recently.
I think it's World War II, but it's before we got involved.
Oh, no, yes, that's what it was. No, I was literally having like dinner with like my aunt and uncle, and
1940. That's
we were talking about like they had never heard of my podcast before, which is like weird, just because I feel like some people are like, oh, so you have that
weird because
podcast.
Everyone's heard of our podcast.
No, just well, that's the thing. I wish like an audience was as engaged with like my podcast as like creepy relatives that are like, so you get drunk and review movies, you fucking Satanist. As opposed to, I wish audience was that involved in my life. But no, I felt like really embarrassed because I was talking about Dunkirk, and my uncle was like, oh, what World War was that? And I was like, II? Like, just like really. I think I really went out there on a limb and was like, II. Yes, II. I'm going to double down on
the sequel.
The other one.
The one that we won.
The bad one.
The Great War. The war to end all wars. Or was it they called the first one?
That was the first
one. The Great War.
That's the big joke. You dummies, we're going to do it again.
Wait, did they call the first one the War to End All Wars?
Yes. Right? Yes,
don't know.
yes.
I know they obviously
That's-
called it the Great War because they wouldn't know it was World War. They wouldn't be like, let's do this again in 20 years.
Because they even like, is that? Because I feel like they poke and prod at like, or that's even like a joke in Wonder Woman. Is the Steve Harvey character is kind of like, this is the war to end all wars. This is the last war. This is the yada yada yada.
Just funny because it's even before the atomic bomb was invented.
Yeah. Man, wars.
Now
am
the
I
War
right?
with Korea is going to be the War to End All Wars. Depressing.
Well,
Anyway, I think that's mostly. I think we've covered most of. We're caught up on film so far.
yeah.
I haven't really been able to do my spreadsheet in a while for Oscar predictions.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is that Dunkirk is still trending well, but that doesn't always bode well because La La Land was trending at the top for the entirety of last year.
It's a good prediction.
Came out to
Like, honestly,
I think right now it's the prediction you
Yeah.
have to make because the post hasn't come out. Darkest Hour might have just come out.
even we don't
and,
really even know what award shows or critics are thinking. So I think it's like it's a really nice like blind vote.
Yeah, if anyone's seen these movies, they've seen like the early film festival cuts because you can like make changes after the film festivals
Yes.
and stuff, obviously.
Mhm.
And I think they probably do most of the time.
I think somebody was talking
Dunkirk
about
just came back out in theaters,
really.
and they did another 70 millimeter because they're doing their award season release, and then they're
Mhm.
doing another 70 millimeter run. So, also fingers crossed that the rest of these movies get their wide releases soon because there is a lot of good stuff out now
Mhm.
that we would rather review than like Daddy's Home 2 and Murder on the Orient Express, but it's not wide yet, so we don't want to do movies that you guys can't see yet because then we're just spoiling it for everybody, or
Yeah.
movies that we can't see yet because I couldn't find any of them around me. I think a ton of them are around Joe, but like Lady Bird, really excited to see. The Florida Project, really excited to see.
Yeah, I got pissed off because I was like, the fuck, we're reviewing these movies and I have like the Florida Project that I don't have enough time to see, like playing like a block or two away from me.
Or like Mudbound, we'll probably do that
Because that's already out.
because that's
Yeah.
out on Netflix now.
Came out last night. I think.
It's got like a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes and awards buzz.
Mm,
That might go down because I think it just came out,
okay.
so that might go down.
That trailer. I'm like, I'm not totally excited about this, but I'm willing to watch it.
It's another like period piece.
Oh,
Back when we weren't treating black people like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert, we still are.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like that actor. I can't remember his name from he was Eazy-E and Straight Outta Compton.
I mean, it looks more interesting than like Hidden Figures, honestly. So
Yeah,
I'll take it. Yeah, and it has a lot of Oscar buzz. So, and that's weird. I don't even know where that Oscar buzz came from necessarily.
When the trailer dropped, I saw the buzz peak a little bit, and I think it was at festivals because that's where they bought it from.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. Yeah.
Also, Mary J. Blige is in it. I don't know if that's her first one or if she was in something else.
I'm sure she was in something.
But there
at
was
the
there
height
was
of her
there was
popularity.
some Oscar buzz for her.
There was,
for
wasn't
supporting,
there?
for supporting actress? Yeah.
Is there still?
Again, I haven't been able to.
Oh, okay. I don't think
because my
there's any more,
PC's
but-
been gone. I haven't been able to keep up with my prediction sheet.
Mhm.
I
They haven't
have to download.
changed much, honestly.
You guys can also most of the data I get from goldderby.com, which has some really good, just collecting all of the experts' predictions and stuff.
Mhm.
So you guys can always go there. I know Itonia was getting Tanya or Tonya, however you would say it,
Mhm.
was getting some buzz, especially for Allison Janney in the supporting role. Oh, and Call Me by Your Name. I think that's out now. But again, like extremely limited release. Like
Right.
a lot of these films are in like less than 50 theaters, so we can't really review them because who's going to be able to see them?
Right. Yeah. It's like if you want to go, I don't know. Something I also have to see is Killing of the Sacred Deer, the new Yorgos project, the guy who did The Lobster, and
That did pretty bad at the box office because that was
I
in
believe
like
it. It's
I want to say that was in like 200 or something theaters,
Yeah,
like not
it's-
a horrible limited release, and it did not have a good like per theater average. It was
I don't
like,
know. Yeah, it's playing like it's weird. It's like at this in between kind of like it's weird. It's playing at like the 22 like Regal Theater by me, but it's not playing at any like the indie theaters or.
I mean,
It's just-
sometimes that might just have to do with that like theater chain's relationship to the studio putting it out.
Yeah, it has a
Because I remember Good Time was playing at
same for me.
the Cinepolis theaters, but not playing at AMC, which has more screens, so usually has more movies, but for some reason was not showing Good Time.
Yeah, no, that's
And I feel like it's been that way. It was like that way for Room before the Oscar buzz started for that. A bunch of other like
Room
A24 ones.
Room. Actually saw it like an indie theater before it got into theaters, but no, same with Good Time. It was at a bigger Regal theater before, or that's it. It was just at a bigger Regal theater, and then it was gone. And that's what I'm afraid is going. I'm probably going to see that very soon before it inevitably disappears from
Mhm.
that weird small spot it has. I hope it's still there. Because I do want to see that, and it's been advertised heavily, but I feel like that's just through the
Targeting.
yes,
Yeah, because it didn't do too well. I mean, even like The Lobster, like we saw The Lobster, we were curious about The Lobster in Yorgos, but I don't think it had like a whole lot of buzz Oscar wise.
we had to watch it online.
It did get the screenplay nomination.
It did,
The
yeah.
Lobster did. I don't know if this is going to do the same. It could just because he was nominated for what was it, foreign language or short? What was Dogtooth?
It won Best Foreign Language, I think.
So he's been nominated twice. for
Right, yeah. Mhm.
Dogtooth and then The Lobster. So
Maybe it
he has
wasn't,
some
I
kind
don't
of
know.
pull on the Oscars, or at least familiarity. Anyway,
I don't even know if it was nominated now that I say that. Maybe I'm just
Dogtooth?
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Was it?
Something he
Okay.
did was. Because we talked about that in Lobster.
All right, fair enough.
Anyway, it's been about an hour, so probably going to cut this off. Not necessarily short. Cut this long. Stay tuned for Justice League on Thursday.
Coming out this Thursday, yeah.
Daddy's Home 2 week after that, and Murder on the Orient Express week after that. And as always, howmanyfingerspodcast.com. All our links are there. Do all that shit.
Check it all out.
And we're going to go get set up and record the next episode. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in 3 weeks.